Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. It is Monday, August 1st, and this is our weekly Westchester Update, where we'll talk about some of the issues that are before us here in Westchester County. I'll be joined in a few minutes by Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins, and he and I together will cover a series of different information and issues. During the course of our time together, we're going to recognize our Emergency Services Department, led by Commissioner Richard Wishney and Deputy Commissioner Susan Spear, to celebrate an anniversary of what's known as 60 Control. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we get to it. We'll give you an update on our airport town hall process as we're looking to move toward a new master plan for the airport. We'll talk about COVID and monkeypox, as we do every time. Ken will cover with us the recreation numbers that we had for the weekend, as we have a very robust summer. Even with the COVID outbreak, we're getting a tremendous use of our recreational facilities, and it's one of the ways that people interact with the county government in a positive light. We'll touch base on a couple of other announcements. We'll announce, which you may already know, that we've come to closure on the Westchester Community College budget for the 2022-2023 academic year. And most interestingly, we have as our guest this week, our municipal partner, is Lisa Katz, who is the supervisor of the town of Newcastle. Now, you know that each of these different updates, we try to have different elected officials, mayors of villages, mayors of cities, supervisors of towns, to come and talk to you a little bit about their communities. There are 45 incorporated entities in Westchester County, and when you start adding hamlets, it's even more than that. Everyone is unique. Everyone has their own reasons to love to live there, and Lisa will talk a little bit about what's happening in the town of Newcastle, which includes the hamlets of Chappaqua and Millwood, and a section of Newcastle that is close to Mount Kisco, has a Mount Kisco post office, and some people think they live in Mount Kisco when they actually live in Newcastle. But we'll cover that in just 1 second. I want to give you a quick update on where we are with our airport master plan. Now, we started back in late May with a series of town hall meetings. We've done 3 in-person town hall meetings, and then we did a virtual town hall meeting to reach people that are not comfortable coming out into public to get input on the master plan. The master plan for the county airport involves looking at the future of the county airport. We have to, by law, make projections of what we think the commercial passenger side of the airport will generate in the years to come. That's only about 20% of all the actions that happen at the airport. General aviation is 80% of the airport. That means the private jets and a host of other small and light, as well as heavier general aviation. And then when we lay out the master plan, we'll talk about the future of the terminal, the future of how we're going to handle environmental issues at the airport. And that includes water quality, it includes air, it includes noise, a host of different issues, all of which would be in a document which will go before the Board of Legislators, have an environmental review process of, and then it'd be adopted as policy for the county that should take us for the next few years. It has been over 30 years since we had our last completed master plan. So we're in that process now, and we're in an input phase where we've had meetings, as I mentioned, in different parts of the county. We've been in White Plains and Dobbs Ferry and Purchase, and the next 2 that we have coming up are a month away in the month of September. On Tuesday, September 6th, we will be at 6 o'clock at the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, 480 Bedford Road in Chappaqua. And I'm sure when Supervisor Lisa Katz speaks in a few minutes, she will touch on the airport issue, which is a major issue in the Chappaqua-Pleasantville corridor. But the next public hearing, 6 o'clock, September 6th, slightly over a month from now, in Chappaqua. And then we're going to follow it up a week later, Tuesday, September 13th, with a session in Greenwich, Connecticut. At 7 o'clock at night, we'll be at the Harvest Time Church on 1338 King Street in Greenwich. That's on the New York-Connecticut border, King Street. And we want to thank Fred Camillo, who's the first selectman of the town of Greenwich. First selectman in Connecticut is the equivalent of being a town supervisor. And we have reached out not only to Westchester, New York residents on the airport, but also Connecticut residents, because they too are affected by it, and we want to be as inclusive as we can in the process. I believe this is the first time we've had a public hearing outside of the state of New York for any Westchester County issue, and in this case with our neighbors in Connecticut. So Chappaqua, Tuesday, September 6th, Greenwich, Tuesday, September 13th. We'll have a few more of these public sessions as we go through the month of September. The draft document of the master plan will be in some format by late October, perhaps early November. And we do have a time frame to the FAA in which we have to make some public projections on what we think the volume at the airport would be. And we'll make estimations of high, low, and median type expectations of passenger levels and the backdrop that supports those projections as part of the master plan process. That will come out sometime later in the fall. But we want to have that dialogue, and we want to hear people. And even if it's, people have right to speak, people who are affected directly by the airport have certainly had their voices heard, will continue to have their voices heard, all of the different players in the game. This is a large county. This is a county facility. It has a backyard impact on the people who live near the airport or under the flight path of the airport, but it also has an impact on people who live in all corners of the county as they may use the airport and take what value there is. So we'll go through all of that, but just to remind you, we're still a month away from it. 2 more public hearings coming up on the books. We'll have a couple more after that, and then you get a chance to see the draft document. So that's where we are on the airport master plan process and the town hall meetings coming up. So let me shift and introduce our guest today, Newcastle Town Supervisor Lisa Katz. Newcastle is a community of slightly over 18,000 individuals. It's located north central in Westchester County. It is very reachable by the various parkways and highways. The Taconic goes through the western edge of it. The Sawmill River Parkway, even though it's bumper-to-bumper traffic these days, cuts through a diagonal through the heart of it, and is very proximate to 684 to its east. So it's a very centrally located area. Route 120 goes through there and comes all the way down to the city of Rye. It is a beautiful community. It's got some great natural attributes. It has been the home for some very prominent people over the years, certainly former President and Bill Clinton and his wife, former Secretary Hillary Clinton, have made their home in Chappaqua, in the town of Newcastle, and other prominent individuals have lived there in all sorts of venues. So it's a very attractive community, and it's got right in downtown Chappaqua a train station that takes you right into the heart of New York City. What more could you ask for? So we're very happy to have Lisa Katz with us. Madam Supervisor, please, the podium is yours. Tell us about Newcastle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive Latimer and Deputy Executive Ken Jenkins and all those in the Westchester County government for having me here today. Good afternoon. I am Lisa Katz, born and raised in Westchester County, and I'm proud to be the supervisor of the wonderful town of Newcastle. So thank you for letting us know where it is, because many people cannot actually pinpoint Newcastle on a map. But you do know our hamlets of Chappaqua and Millwood, and then homes with addresses in Armonk, Briarcliff Manor, Mount Kisco, Ossining, Bedford, Yorktown, and Pleasantville also fall within Newcastle. So we are a very diverse community. The 2020 census lists us as having a little over 18,000 residents, and we've also seen a rush of new residents come to town during the pandemic, trying to escape New York City as families chose to relocate to our welcoming town, which does have a direct train line to New York City. We have over 500 acres of beautiful parks and trails. We offer many community and family-centric activities like camps, concerts in the park, outdoor movies, a thriving farmers market, the Chappaqua Children's Book Festival, which is back, so I hope you'll all attend that. The North County Trail, arts and wine around town, and the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, and more. We also started a Tunes in the Town campaign to bring vibrancy to town, where any talented residents can come on a Saturday and play music in the downtown to the delight of all our residents in town. And we are proud that even a former president and former Secretary of State make our lovely town home. In 2022, after we stopped proposed form-based rezoning plan, Newcastle has seen a resurgence of activity. Fabulous new restaurants and stores have opened up, multi-use development projects have been proposed, and there's a sense of renewed energy and vitality in our town, and I urge you to come visit us. And if you haven't been here in a while, you're going to be surprised at the number of people walking around, having ice cream, eating, shopping, drinking, talking. It's really a wonderful, wonderful town. Later this year, we're also going to start a community-wide engagement process with respect to publicly owned land in the Chappaqua Hamlet to really obtain public input as to how best to utilize that property. We have a very large train station lot. We don't know the results of that since the pandemic. A lot of people aren't commuting to the city or are now commuting part-time. So we really want to look at the needs and wants of our community and collaborate together to see how we might want to propose future development in the downtown hamlet. Newcastle's also committed to the stewardship of our environment. That's very important to our residents, and we have a very active conservation board, sustainability advisory board. We have banned plastic bags in Newcastle and the summer use of gas-powered leaf blowers. We've installed many EV chargers in town for electric vehicles. We recently became a Bee City, USA, and we also took the Monarch Butterfly Pledge. So we are really dedicated to making sure that we can help enhance our community. We did recently adopt the New York Stretch Code, and we are also the state's first municipality to take the pledge and register as a climate-smart community. And the DEC has recently designated us as a silver certified climate smart community, which right now is the highest level you can attain, and that's based upon our continued commitment to local climate action, and we plan to do even more in the future. In an effort to encourage walkability in our town, I'm actually personally very, very interested in a proposed project in town that we're calling the Chap Line. And what that is it's nearly 1.5 acre, a 1.5 mile route that would connect our downtown Chappaqua Hamlet, our Bell Middle School, our train station, our affordable housing units in town, all the way up to the new Chappaqua Crossing Business Center, which also has residences, and 91 new townhomes are actually breaking ground now. There's Horace Greeley High School is there. We have Whole Food shopping. So this route is phenomenal because given that we have a lot of state roads in town, and given DOT and state requirements for sidewalks, it's nearly impossible for us to install sidewalks to increase walkability in certain areas of our town. But this would allow us to really connect two big business districts by utilizing the woodlands and wetlands and the existing Westchester County sewer trunk line. There's an area where we can actually nicely develop a path. And that would benefit both the town and the region. It would allow pedestrian access to our business districts. And it's an excellent trails to rails opportunity. We can encourage residents to walk to the train for their commute rather than drive their cars. We are actively seeking grants to fund this project so that we can see it become a reality. As you can imagine, it is not the most inexpensive project. So I want to thank the county, hint, hint, in advance for their efforts on our behalf, as well as our state assemblyman and state senator for helping us with this important project, because we think not only will it help to get cars off the road and add safety for our pedestrians, but it's also a great way to connect our schools so that children can run, our cross-country teams can run on a really nice paved path as opposed to in the middle of the street, where that's a very busy, considering it's a state road there. I also want to thank the county, and George touched on this before, for agreeing to host the next On the Horizon session for the Westchester County Airport Master Planning Session in Newcastle on September 6th. The environmental impacts of the airport in terms of noise, air quality, water quality, those are incredibly important to the residents in Newcastle. And I want to make sure, while we've attended other sessions, this is going to be the first one, I believe, in northern Westchester. So it's very important to our residents and certainly of concern to many of our neighboring municipalities. So I want to thank you for having that session, and we are really looking forward to hosting everyone at the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center. And the bonus is, if you haven't been there yet, you'll get to see the wonderful venue, which, speaking of that, we're proud that we were able to save this 400-seat venue, a little over 400 seats, from demolition when the Chappaqua Crossing project was being built. And now we are working hard to make it an arts and entertainment venue in northern Westchester that really will give something for all of us. We want to, replicate some of the other successful venues in town and in our local area. We really hope that it's going to become the center of arts in northern Westchester. Our fall programming is actually very exciting. We have everything from author talks, movies, comedy, theater, children's programming, and music. We have an evening for those who like him with Stevie Van Sant coming soon, and the TheaterWorks production of The Lightning Thief, an a cappella high school sing-off that we're hoping will incorporate high schools from all over the county. The Paper Bag Players, which many transplants from New York City will know and love for their children, and even a matchmaking event for those single people in our town and the local communities who want to see what lies in store for them. Of course, these events are not only for Newcastlers, though we love that we can offer this to our seniors and to everyone who lives in town, but these are open to everyone from in Westchester and obviously Connecticut, any neighboring community. Please come and see what we have to offer there. And we are also thrilled that we are able to use ChapPAC to spearhead the development of a site where we can train those with disabilities through our EPIC Ambassador program and others to really learn jobs and train them for future employment and employment at ChapPAC. So right now they're doing ushering, they're seating people, they're helping with concessions, and really handing out programs and interacting with guests to the theater. And we're hoping that that's going to develop into even more, where they will learn about merchandising and ordering, and really so that this gives them gainful employment to those who may have had difficulty trying to find that before. So we are thrilled that we can use the Performing Arts Center to help with this program. On the legislative front, we've been busy. We recently adopted new temporary sign regulations in town in anticipation of upcoming elections and other venues that may wish to advertise football games, our farmers market. So we adopted new legislation that we're hoping is going to really try to find the mid-ground between a nuisance and allowing our residents to advertise things that really are important and really build a sense of community. So we're excited we were able to get that done. We also approved an amendment to our zoning code to require 10% affordable AFFH housing units in certain new multifamily buildings in our downtown Chappaqua and Millwood hamlets. An enactment in this law, I feel, really cured a gap that was in our zoning. So I'm excited that we are now able to send a true message to developers to say that we value affordable housing, and we want to make sure that it's at the forefront of all new development in our Chappaqua and Millwood hamlets. We also recently adopted a law to allow the development of apartments in our business districts that are below street level, but still have grade level egress and ingress in those business districts. And we feel that this will add to our diverse housing stock without compromising the street level commercial use. So we're excited to be able to utilize that as well. Of course, we could not accomplish any of this without the tireless work of our town staff, department heads, and especially our town administrator. I know I, for one, keep throwing ideas at them nonstop, and they bring all those ideas to life, and I always hear yes. So I really appreciate that, as well as our town controller, who ensures that we can do all of that without breaking our tax cap. So thank you to everyone in our town hall. We really couldn't be there without you, especially as we navigated, COVID-19 and the pandemic. You all were able to keep our town open and functioning at a very high level. We provided great service to our residents and constituents, so I want to thank you all. And I would also be remiss if I did not thank our amazing residents who volunteer their time, energy, and passions on our town boards, committees, and groups like our Sustainability Advisory Board, Recreation Commission, Conservation and Beautification Boards, Committee on Race, Equity and Inclusion, Holocaust and Human Rights Committee, Friends of the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, and so many more. Their work continues to make Newcastle the special place that I know that it is. So Newcastle, one of the things that was very important to me when I took office was to make sure and to make a commitment to good process, transparency, disciplined decision-making, respect, and diversity in all forms. And we encourage our residents to approach the town board with all of their opinions and issues, even if we don't agree with you. In fact, we started a program called Sips with the Supervisor, where once a month I go around town and residents can join me with a cup of coffee or whatever else they choose to drink, and outside of regular board meetings to ask questions, discuss issues, and bring up anything that is on their minds. And more than anything, our mission in Newcastle is to foster the overwhelmingly heartfelt feeling of true community, because that's what makes Newcastle so very special. So again, I want to thank County Executive Latimer and Deputy Executive Ken Jenkins for giving me this opportunity to brag a bit about my home and the wonderful town of Newcastle. Thank you.
Lisa, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's a pleasure to be with you here. And we thank you for your leadership in Newcastle, and we look forward to working with you on these issues, the airport notably, but other issues as well. And she made a mention of the Chappaqua Farmers Market on Saturdays. Get there nice and early. That's when the best deals are. It's at the southern end of the parking lot for the Chappaqua train station. But if you get there late, the best deals aren't there. So we encourage you to be in Chappaqua and all the other wonderful places we have. Each week we will have one of our municipal officials with us here to talk about their community and give you a chance to learn about Westchester, not the government of Westchester, but the different towns and cities, villages, and hamlets of Westchester, which is really where Westchester is found, not in its governmental areas. But we are here to give you an update on some of the public policy issues, and sort of the major public policy issue that we're dealing with is public health. For the last almost 2.5 years, we're dealing with the COVID outbreak, and now we've seen an outbreak in the disease monkeypox. And with the two of them side by side now, there's a tendency to not necessarily differentiate how they're different and where we are in dealing with both of those two different issues. We're going to talk about monkeypox in a second, but for right now, the standard COVID update. We've seen now for about the last month, 2 months even, sort of a static situation where we have about the same number of active cases. People go through the 10-day protocol, come out. The vast majority of them are not seriously ill, but there are a significant number of people that continue to test positive with it. Just to give you the indicator, the most recent numbers we have, and some of these different ones depend on the day, but as of yesterday, Sunday, the state tracker showed 3,248 Westchester residents that have an active case of coronavirus, 3,248, and that compares almost equally to where we were the last couple of weeks, where we were in that range between 3,000 and 3,500 a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a month ago. And some of the other indicators show that sort of standard sort of area that we're in. We have, as last report, 150 people hospitalized for coronavirus. Now, out of 3,200 plus active cases, that's slightly less than 5% of all the people that have coronavirus are currently hospitalized for coronavirus. Very different from when the outbreak first came. 95% of the people that test positive for coronavirus are not sick enough to be in the hospital, and that number is the same as it was 2 weeks ago and the same as it was a month ago, below 5% hospitalization. Our fatality numbers, and every fatality is a tragedy and cannot be turned into a statistic, but each of the different fatality numbers has started to flatten out. We've lost one person fatality from the most recent report over the weekend to the prior Monday, a week ago today. In the aggregate, we've lost 2,778 individuals, and the fatality rate is of all the people that have contracted COVID over the course of this pandemic, my being one of them, and most of us now can assert that they've contracted it at least once, if not multiple times, less than 1% of all the cases of COVID have become fatal. So we're seeing the pattern continue to repeat. It's those of advanced age, generally in their 80s or older, those people that have underlying health diseases of any age, but they have a compromised immune systems, they have COPD, they have hypertension, severe diabetes. That makes them more vulnerable to fatality. And of course, those that are unvaccinated in the society, and when the disease hits them, it hits them with a virulence that exceeds that which those of us who've been vaccinated experience. We have well over 85% of the county is vaccinated at some level of vaccination. Right now, the protocol may have you up to 4 different vaccination shots, the original 2-shot cohort, and then a couple of additional boosters. Not everybody's had the 4th booster, but most people that have gone to get a vaccination now are somewhere between the 3rd and the 4th shot and have been fairly well protected, as reflected in the relatively low number of hospitalizations and the very relatively low number of fatalities. We do have COVID vaccines that are available for children 6 months to 5 years of age. That's all throughout the summer. We have a county health department clinic that gives those vaccinations out for young ones from 9 a.m. to 12 noon at our White Plains Health Clinic. It's right here, 134 Court Street in downtown White Plains on Fridays from 9 to 12. And then after that, we do provide vaccinations for adults that have not yet gotten vaccinated, or they're somewhere in their protocol. They may have gotten the first 2 shots, but not the next 2 shots, boosters or what have you, 1 to 3 on a Friday afternoon. So Friday at our clinic is sort of COVID day, but you can get COVID shots in a lot of places now. It's not limited to the public settings for this. You consult your medical professional, perhaps the practice that they're involved in can do it, perhaps local hospital, neighborhood health center. All of those places are eligible to get a COVID shot, a COVID vaccination, and you're welcome to go onto our website, which is a rather long one, just westchestergov.com, look for health and click on, and you'll see a coronavirus icon, and that will get you to the information you need in terms of COVID. Now, COVID is an airborne disease. It's spread by airborne means, which means you don't have to be in direct contact with somebody, which means it's much more easily transmissible from person to person because it does not require contact or even close proximity. Monkeypox is different. Monkeypox requires a skin-to-skin contact, which is much harder to do, and in the society we have a lot less cases. So where we have 3,300 cases of COVID right now, we have 40 active cases of monkeypox. But that is not to minimize the disease. The disease is a painful disease for those that contract it and get a full-blown case of it. The good news, if there is good news on monkeypox, is that if you get a monkeypox vaccination, the vaccination just doesn't lessen your experience, it can eliminate the disease in you. So a bit of a different story than in COVID, where at this point the vaccine does not end COVID, it just makes you feel better as you go through the period of time in which your natural antibody system is defeating the COVID virus. So that's this one. Monkeypox is front and center. Monkeypox has grown in its presence in Westchester County. We now have 40 confirmed cases of monkeypox in Westchester. I think a week ago we reported 28, and when we began counting almost a month ago, we had 4 cases. 40 cases is not thousands of cases, but those 40 individuals affected, and we do have vaccination protocols that are available, and we're going to talk in a second about one of the programs that we've set up that has worked directly with the Loft. But there are certain intimate social circles that are more vulnerable to the monkeypox virus being transmitted. And for individuals in those settings, we very much encourage you to be vaccinated. But you do have to call in advance on vaccinations, and we have vaccinations available at the very same White Plains clinic that I alluded to. Friday is COVID day. Mondays and Wednesdays are the days where monkeypox vaccines are being distributed. We've gotten a significant amount transferred to us from New York State, and we appreciate Governor Hochul and the people in the New York State Department of Health that have made the monkeypox vaccines available to us. And on Mondays and Wednesdays, vaccinations at our local center. You can call us at our health line, 995-8900, for appointments at the downtown White Plains Health Center. Separate and distinct from that, Westchester Medical Center is now providing vaccination in their drive-through capacity. It's the same process used for COVID testing back in a year ago. There is an appointment line number for that particular vaccine distribution. That's 326-2060, 914 area code 326-2060. You do not have to be a resident of Westchester County in order to receive the vaccination. We presume that you would be a resident of New York State. As these are provided by New York State, we prioritize New York State residents. And there is a great demand in the city. They have exhausted their vaccine availability on a regular basis, but there are people who reside in the city but work in Westchester County, and they can get vaccinated in Westchester County. The Westchester Medical Center serves a multiple county area in our region, so Putnam residents, Dutchess, Orange, Rockland, people that are coming from a distance can come and get vaccinated here in Westchester County as well. As long as vaccine is available, the medical center will continue to provide their drive-through capacity, and we will continue to provide a Monday and a Wednesday vaccination as well. Now, we made specific outreach to the Loft, which is a community center active for the LGBTQAI+ community. And I want to thank Steve Bass, who is our Director of Intergovernmental Services, who serves as a direct liaison to our LGBTQ Advisory Board. And they had a group phone conversation a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, to discuss how best to reach communities of people that were most concerned about monkeypox for those doses. And now we have a particular partnership with the Loft that provides some appointments for vaccinations there. We're looking at Thursday, August 11th, August 18th, for an on-campus distribution of vaccinations, Department of Health, and there are appointments there from 9:30 until 4:30. But I want to ask Judy Churlow, who's the Executive Director of the Loft, to join us here at the podium. Her organization has been essential for us in making the outreach that we need to make, public education outreach. There's great fear that goes with any disease, and people wonder, am I vulnerable? What do I have to do? How do I do this? And that fear is understood until proper information can be given, and the Loft has been a partner with the county in trying to reach out to the community and providing that information. So Judy, if you just say a few words, we're very happy to have you with us here. Sure. And Judy is Executive Director of the Loft.
Hi, thank you for having me. First of all, I want to say that the Loft is incredibly grateful to the County of Westchester and to County Executive Latimer for the quick response on behalf of our community. You know, we were, a few weeks ago, we were having this discussion, and it was a long time prior to it being declared a state of emergency. So to be on top of this, to be in front of it, is what we try to do. And our community is incredibly grateful. We had our first clinic last week, and within a couple of hours, all the slots were booked. Our second clinic is this Thursday, and again, all those slots were booked because our community takes this very seriously. We have added, as the county executive indicated, 2 additional clinics, and they will be on Thursdays. That's a great way to remember because the county is providing Monday and Wednesdays, we're providing Thursdays. Wherever you can get the vaccine, get the vaccine. In order to make an appointment with the Loft, again, they're available from 9:30 to 4:30 on Thursdays through mid-August. You would visit our website, which is theloftgaycenter.org. We're there to help you. If you're not available on a Thursday, we're going to help you set up an appointment with the county or with other locations. So let's keep on top of this. And we're very grateful. Thank you, George.
Thank you. That's Judy Churlow, who's Executive Director of the Loft, working with the county in a direct fashion and also with Westchester Medical Center and trying to make sure that monkeypox vaccinations are made available to the community of need. And I also want to make sure we thank some of the individuals that have worked closely on this particular project. Jeffrey Gard from the Loft deserves recognition, and then a number of our key people in Westchester County government. Our First Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Health, Renee Recchia, has really done a terrific job. Dr. Dial Hewlett from our health department, John Castaneda, Ashley Hardesty, DiPietro, India Harris, and Catherine O'Connor, all of whom have really done above and beyond work. We try very hard back in the days, 35 years ago, the book In Search of Excellence catch people doing something right, not just catch doing something wrong. It's sort of the traditional corporate way of management. And these individuals whose names I've mentioned are just part of the people who work for county government, or in Jeffrey's case for the loft, that have really gone above and beyond to help us try to address this issue. We don't know, we're not medical professionals, as to what the course of the infection will be, but whether it is monkeypox or it's COVID or whatever else may be coming down the pike, we're going to try to be alert and ready and provide the resources that a county government can. We work closely with the state, we work closely with our local governments, and in this case with organizations like the Loft to help us have the best possible outcome. We're comforted to know that we have suffered no fatalities in Westchester County at this stage of the game from those that have been diagnosed with monkeypox. We hope that that number will stay at 0 forever, and people will go through what is a painful disease, but they'll go through it successfully and come out on the other side. That's our hope for today. Judy, thank you. So with that information, again, we want to thank our county health department on both the COVID and the monkeypox fronts for all these different things and the testing and all of the details of things that we have to face. So as we go forward, I'm going to ask Ken Jenkins to join me here at the podium. We're going to cover a few other issues that we have coming up. We have a little recognition coming up shortly for our Emergency Services Department. First of all, Westchester Community College. Westchester Community College, we all are aware, is a dynamic educational institution here. It's one of the many community colleges across the state, part of the SUNY system, State University of New York system, that represents higher education, and in the case of the community college, an essential part of developing skills for individuals who are employed or hope to be employed and can find through WCC that next educational step that takes them beyond their high school degree in education. Of course, the main campus in Valhalla has now been supplemented by having satellite campuses around the county in various locations, and the one in Yonkers at Cross County Center is one of those centers. We have others, and it's very important. WCC operates on an academic year, as all educational institutions, higher education, K-12 education do. Season starts in September, ends in June, and so the budget of the community college begins as well mid-year and expires next year mid-year. So we just have the 2022-2023 academic year, fiscal year budget for Westchester Community College that was presented by Dr. Belinda Miles and her executive team. It was drafted by them, going through the usual process of assessing each of the different departments of the community college and putting together the numbers both for revenue and expenditures. It was approved by the WCC Board of Trustees, chaired by Leroy Mitchell, and we have a number of prominent Westchester residents who serve on that board. They serve by appointment of the governor on the recommendation of a variety of different individuals, and we're very pleased that it is such a well-schooled board, not to make a pun out of it, and they have presented to the Westchester County government for our approval the 22-23 budget. That went before the Westchester County Board of Legislators earlier today, has been adopted, and will come to my desk for a signature, which I expect to sign at some point in time today. That budget reflects a lot of different realities in the marketplace right now, and probably the single most important fact to share, and you may have heard it through other sources already, but the commitment was made to keep tuition for the 22-23 year at the same level as it was this year past, the 21-22 budget year. So it's a flat tuition from last year to this year. That is important on a number of different levels. The first level is certainly the inflationary environment that we are in. All across the country, people are trying very hard to make ends meet. They're trying to put gas in their car, food on their table, clothes on their backs, their children's backs, and do all the things that are necessary and enjoy some of the summertime time that we have. And in this particular case, keeping tuition flat is in keeping with the other strategies that the county in and of itself has announced. So we're appreciative that that was part of the sensitivity of the community college leadership and the community college board in presenting the final budget to us. The annual full-time credit for student tuition is $4,730, again, flat last year to this year, and that is the second lowest tuition among colleges, similar colleges in the region. And we think that's appropriate. We want the incentive of a more reasonable tuition to bring more students into the higher educational system, and that is what this is. This is higher education, takes you beyond what you got in high school and prepares you in one fashion or another for the jobs that are available in this society. We're working very hard with that group that manages the community college and the Board of Trustees to try to help on the enrollment side with a marketing effort to try to put before people who would be eligible to take courses and pursue degrees at WCC to help have that. We know that student loan debt is huge in this society. It averages, if you can believe this, $37,678 per student when they leave an institution. Now, I'm of an older age. Colleges weren't as expensive in those days, and the sacrifices made by my parents, I worked, but my parents made the sacrifice, enabled me to go through college, and I paid for my graduate school degree without debt. But for those that have debt coming out of education, it is a burden right out of the starting blocks. You have rent or mortgage payments, you have the payments to keep yourself mobile in automobiles if you have the car, and all the other things you have to pay for, insurance and electric and gas and so forth. And now you have a debt to pay on a regular basis for your student loans. It could be crippling for any number of different individuals. So to the extent that we can have a low-cost alternative in the community college system, not for everybody, but for those that see that as the next logical step, that we have a reasonable tuition that they can make. I should point out that Westchester Community College Foundation annually distributes more than $2 million in scholarships to those in particular need, and there's also the Federal Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds Act, which can offset some of the impacts from COVID-19. That's also available for students. So there are different things in play that can be helpful to students. But we're very pleased that we were able to complete the budgetary process. I want to compliment again Dr. Belinda Miles and her executive team for their hard and diligent work in running the institution, running it well, and also preparing a budget that has passed muster with the Board of Trustees. We want to thank the members of the Board of Trustees for their continued service and leadership. Ken and I know the members. We talked to them over the last few weeks, sound out how people are feeling about different things, and it is a very capable Board of Trustees. And now to the Board of Legislators, which did their diligence and passed the budget. And we now move on to the next group of issues. But the community college budget is now adopted for the 22-23 year, flat tuition for that period of time. Next bit of good news, and there's always some good news, there's also headaches that we have out there, is Memorial Field in Mount Vernon. Memorial Field, and you're going to see a video while I'm speaking, give you an idea of what it looks like today. Memorial Field, for the last 12 years, in round numbers, was a field that lay fallow. The original grandstands were torn down by local executive action, prior administration, and there was different types of dumping that went on in that field, and mounds of dirt where once was a football field and where once was athletic competition and where there was once concerts. I grew up in Mount Vernon. I was on that field for many different reasons, got my high school diploma on that degree, on that field. And back those 12 or so years ago, maybe slightly longer than that, the then mayor of the city of Mount Vernon, Clinton Young, and then county executive Andrew Spano sealed the deal to use Legacy Act funds to help restore that field. And Legacy Act funds made available by the county was made available for projects all across Westchester County, in the northern part of the county, southern part of the county, to help revive or add fields and improve recreational services in local governments, school districts, and at the same time there were certain actions taken for affordable housing or county roads and what have you that made it sensible for the county to do this as an investment for the future. This was the last project of that commitment, and it lay fallow for a long, long time. I'm pleased that we were able to put the right governmental resources together, the right political will, the right financing. This turned out to be an expensive project. It was not easy to do. There were lots of different things that we found out as we went along, what was buried underneath the field, what reinforcement around the perimeter of the field was necessary for retaining walls, and how we had to work around it. But we're getting very close to the end of this project. As we reach now the 1st of August today, the turf field that they'll be playing sports on, not just football, but lacrosse and soccer and similar sports that need a rectangular field, that will be completed by the end of this week. They'll be stamping the concrete entry plaza this week. It's about a 3-week operation, and that entry plaza defines the way it looks when you walk into Memorial Field. It's kind of an iconic plaza, and I recall as a young boy going through that. We've got things like bathroom fixtures to do, as you can imagine, sinks and so forth, and the tennis court is underway in the next 2 to 3 weeks. There's a scoreboard now that's up. There's a skate park that's been completed. We're very happy with the way it looks. Now, you can't go onto the field. There is a parking deck right across the street from it, and most people that want to take a look of it, they drive up to the top level and go over the side, and you get a pretty decent view of the field, and you see how much has been accomplished. But, you know, we take pride in the efforts that we've made as a team, all of us together. I certainly cannot take any credit for the construction talent that goes into fixing a physical plan. I don't take credit for the intricate financing, the writing of the bid documents when you bid out a construction project, the structure to finance when you put the bonds together. That requires both internal professionals in our finance department and external bond counsel experts to be able to put the financing together, and all the myriad of logistical problems that come up. But 3 years ago, Ken, myself, and the rest of our executive team made a commitment that we would honor and complete this project, that it was important to do it. It was important to do it because it's an important recreational function, and it's important to do it in order to prove a basic, simple point. Government can work. Government is not omnipotent. It does not need to be a big swallowing entity that requires everything to give direction and obedience and put government first. But there's a role for government to play in the creation and the maintenance of assets that are used by the public, things that individual members of the public could not do on their own. So we, as a society, act jointly through the tool of government. And over the course of our tenure here, these 4.5 years, approaching 5 years now, we've looked at many of those assets that were fallen into disrepair. The North County Trailway, that goes through part of Lisa Katz's town. The South County Trailway. This is the old Putnam Railroad line that was turned by Aldo Bello and Andy O'Rourke years ago into a walkway and bicycling route. It had fallen into some disrepair, needed some major improvements. Those improvements have been completed. That the Bronx River pathway that goes alongside the Bronx River Parkway, particularly in the Scarsdale-Hartsdale corridor, was not complete. And it was a break in which you couldn't really connect from one end to the other. And we fixed that. We've gotten that done. The Miller House, the Washington headquarters located on Virginia Road in the town of Newcastle, which was a site for George Washington during the Battle of White Plains to operate out of. And it was fallen into disrepair. It was blue tarp over the building, and it was on the verge of collapse. And there was an argument over the county doesn't want it, the town of Newcastle should take it. Town of Newcastle, we don't have the resources to do it. And while that argument was going on, it was falling down. We made the commitment to fix it. We got some state money to help us do it, and now that facility with an additional building is a showplace that we can use for teaching young people about what happened in this county during the Revolutionary War and the greatness of George Washington, who has a local connection to all of us. The New Rochelle Family Court, which was debated for years and years and years. There was a decrepit building. It's being torn down now at 420 North, completely inadequate for its purpose. And it was not easy, but we got through the mechanisms to see the court being reconstructed in a brand new building on Garden Street in New Rochelle. And right across the street, I might add, 200 units of affordable housing that target those individuals that not only qualify for affordable housing, but also have been victims of domestic violence. And these two buildings side by side create a new corridor just literally 1 block from the New Rochelle train station and the bus depot. All of these things and more represents our direct day-to-day commitment to appreciate the things that Westchester has and to bring them to full usage. And Memorial Field is one more part of it. And it's not the last part of our story. We have to look at the Westchester County Center, determine the future of that facility and what has to be done there and what a revisioning of that looks like. We're going through the master plan process of the airport for the same reason, take a fresh look at it and determine what is its future and how do we shape that future in an intelligent way rather than let market pressures force us into some action or not. And all of these things are not done with any one term. A term comes, it ends, somebody else becomes county executive, and some of these things remain undone. But the Memorial Field project is in and of itself valuable as a recreational facility, and it's important as a statement that when government decides that something is important and we work toward that end, we can deliver that end product. And people who look at it say, yes, they did something. It wasn't just talk. It wasn't just an argument over philosophy or I win an election and you lose an election. It's the creation, well, in this case, the protection of something of value. And so we're very close on Memorial Field, and we're very happy that that is coming to closure. And certainly when we're ready for that, the Mount Vernon city officials led by Mayor Sean Patterson Howard, the elected officials that were involved at the state level who put money into this project, and county, and those of us at the county level will all be there to cut a ribbon, and we'll all be very happy. I might be as happy as anybody having received my high school diploma on that field 52 years ago. But the bottom line is we're committed to doing these things in an intelligent way, and that's what we've been able to accomplish on Memorial Field. Now, Ken is going to go over some of the things that represent this last weekend in our park system. We have 55 parks around the county. These are some of the assets we've talked about. And this year we made the decision to be as open and operative in as many places as is possible. We know we've got a COVID situation going on, but we also know that now 3 summers into this outdoor environment, most Westchester residents are vaccinated, and here now is the result of how we've been doing. Ken.
Thanks, George. As the county executive just mentioned, we continue to ensure that our parks, recreation, and conservation facilities are open and available. And this year, because of some of the additional things that we've done, there has been a almost double increase for the amount of people that have attended the facilities. And instead of going them by one, is to make sure that you almost see this a doubling of the people that have attended our pools, Tibbetts Pool, Saxon Woods Pool, and Sprain Ridge Pool from 2021 to 2022. Almost a 100% increase in the amount of people. And that's almost close to 150,000 people that have participated in going to our beaches, our pools in those 3 facilities. Wilson Woods Pools, as we explained last week, has a slightly different situation because of the main wave pool, which is the main attraction at Wilson Woods, has not been able to open this season. It's not going to open at all for this particular season. But the other facilities that are there, the wading pool and the spray deck, people have been taking great advantage of. So there's just not as many people that have gone to Wilson Woods. However, people are enjoying it just as well, and because of the changes, and county executive will mention those as well when we talk about the inflation fighting measures that have been done by County Executive Latimer and our team to ensure that people in Westchester have the opportunity to participate as greatly as possible. Glen Island has almost 1,000 people that have participated more last week, the same time last year in 2021 to 2022. 1,100 more people that have participated, with over almost 21,000 people that have attended Glen Island Beach this year. Croton Point Beach is a little bit different because this beach is only open on the weekends. So it's only open on weekends. We're doing some additional work. The investments that County Executive Latimer mentioned before that we've done all around the county. We're doing some significant investments around Croton Point Beach, which keeps the beach closed during the week. But on the weekend, we've got 6,500 people that have gone to Croton Beach this season. Now, again, it's a lot different than having the beach be open 7 days, but those things happen. In addition to that, our award-winning, nationally accredited park system has the outstanding courses and public courses. And during the course of the pandemic, we saw how important it was that people got out and played, and they utilized our facilities greatly, specifically not only because they were open and golfers will go anywhere for a golf course that's open, but if it's not good, they don't come back. And we did, again, in those similar investments, in talking about investing in the infrastructure of the county. Maplemore completed last year a tremendous upgrade of the facility, and that's shown this year by the amount of golfers that continue to go. It's not the same level of pace. We've had a little bit different weather, and certainly if it's heavy-duty rainstorms as we've had over the last few weeks, that will keep people off the golf course. Even those hardy golf courses who will golf cart folks that would go out in snow with an orange golf ball just so they can keep going. But the fact of the matter is that it's still a tremendous amount of people that are participating in all of the county facilities. The golf courses are having people take great advantage of them. They say that everything is playing well, and it depends. Well, people have been complaining about the ability to play on the golf courses. Dunwoody and Saxon Woods are the 2 courses that are below track from last year. Everyone else is ahead of their track, and we continue again because of the facilities, because of the weather, but the facilities are fantastic, and everyone has just been complimenting the great work that's been going on. So with that, we'll turn it back to the county executive to talk about some of those inflation fighting methods that have been done, including at all the parks.
Thanks again, Ken. And just to put a cap on it, we have reinstituted our ethnic festivals at the county, primarily at Kensico Dam Plaza, a couple of them at Ridge Road Park, and we have almost completed our series. But during the month of August, we will be honoring Indian Heritage Festival, that's South Asian, Indian neighbors, friends. A little later on, we'll have one that honors the Jewish heritage, another one that honors the Muslim heritage. We have already honored African American, Hispanic, Asian American, Albanian American, Italian, and Irish, and a host of other ones. And we had to suspend those for 2 years because of COVID, and now we put them back on track. I think what I want to do is bring up our friends from the emergency services next. We have a little more business to cover, but we're taking them out of the action of what they have to do every hour of the day. And I'd like to point out, as I ask Commissioner Richard Wishney, Deputy Commissioner Susan Spear, and their team to please come up here. We've talked already in this update about a lot of things, and I'm not sure that very many people watch this all the way through the end. We've talked about the role that our Department of Health has played in terms of the pandemics. We've talked about the role that our Department of Parks, Recreation, and Conservation has played in recreation purposes. We'll talk a little bit about our Department of Public Safety when we just touch on the impact of crime in the county. And here our Emergency Services Department, 60 Control, represents yet another service that Westchester County government does. I know people might ask me all the time, what does the county government do? Well, we do local, regional services that you don't expect every single community to do. And in the case of dispatching, when you dial a 911 number, you have an emergency response, you can't expect in those 45 communities, as talented as any one of them may be, as big as Yonkers, as small as Buchanan, you need to have some sort of a regionalized function. And what we have here today are the people that make that regionalized function go. Commissioner Richard Wishney is with us here today, Deputy Commissioner Susan Spear, Chief Michael Volk, who is our Communications Division Director, Captain John Munson, who is the captain of 60 Control, and Lieutenant Gina DeLeo, 60 Control Supervisor. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Wishney. He can honor that this is a major anniversary for 60 Control and the dispatches that go on through all of the different fire and EMS agencies in Westchester County. We owe a great debt of gratitude to these people. Lives have been saved. Lives have been saved because of the talent of these people and the people they represent. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. We're delighted to be here today to celebrate the 40th anniversary of 60 Control. We have right now 31 people who man and staff the 60 Control function. When you have an emergency at home and you dial 911, one of these 31 people will pick up the phone. They work 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. They work 12-hour shifts. And if you had a chance to see what happens when there's a storm or when there's some kind of crisis here in Westchester County, it's amazing to see how hard these folks work. It's a very stressful position. So as the county executive said, we provide this service for everyone in the county. We serve over 80 agencies, both fire and EMS. And I'd like to take this moment to have Captain Munson come up and tell you a little bit about the services provided.
Thank you, Commissioner. 60 Control, as we're known by most of the agencies we serve, provides primary fire and EMS dispatch services for, like the Commissioner said, about 80 fire and EMS agencies in Westchester County. The men and women there are certified emergency medical dispatchers who can give pre-arrival instructions for childbirth, CPR instructions, which is, you said, we've been able to save many lives because of that. And we can coordinate the mutual aid efforts of many fire and EMS agencies when larger disasters happen. I've been there for 20 years, so that's about half the time it's been in existence. I think the folks that were there before me really set a good foundation for us going into the future. And thanks to the county executive, the commissioner, deputy commissioner, and our chief, our division continues to grow and continues to get better, and it looks like a very promising next 40 years for us. So thank you.
Richard, do you want anyone else from the team to share their thoughts?
No, sir, I think...
We'll do the proclamation.
yes, sir.
Okay. So we have here recognition on behalf of this group of professionals recognizing the hard work that they do, the number of people that they serve, and that this is the 40th anniversary of this being in place from June of 1982. So Richard, Susan, and to the rest of the team, on behalf of a very grateful county, those of us that aren't professionals in this area but rely on your professionalism to save our lives and the lives of our loved ones, thank you very much for your work. Please.
Maybe Gina and John?
Okay, whoever would like to accept it, please accept it on our behalf. And we'll take some pictures, when we have a chance off the second.
Thank you very much.
But we appreciate all of you. Thank you very much for your service. Thank you. It's very nice of you to come here. I'm sorry we kept it through we cut it a little bit short for you. So. That's all right. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, sir. It's good to see you. Susan, thank you. Thank you. And by the way, for those of you who wonder where the 60 control represents, if you do an alphabetical listing of the 62 counties of New York State, that includes the 5 boroughs of New York City, Westchester, W, is the 60th from alpha to Z. And that's where the 60 comes from. That's why when you see some cars that are county cars, the number 60 is on it, because if you're in, I don't know what's ahead of us in the alphabet, Wayne County, that would be 59 or whoever. But Wyoming County is after us in the alphabet, so is Yates County. A Trivial Pursuit fact, if anybody ever asks you when you're playing at home. But we thank the professionals here from DES for doing that. It's very important. So once again, we've touched on some of the different things that we're dealing with. There's a host of different issues. I do want Ken to cover work that we're doing that has a time frame leading to the 9/11 commemoration that's coming up in September. Ken?
Thanks, Judge. And really quickly, our 9/11 related illnesses memorial committee is soliciting names, and we continue to mention that because we want to ensure that everyone that has been impacted, and those specifically that have died of a 9/11 related illness, we need those names to come into us to be able to be placed on the Westchester 9/11 related illnesses memorial at Kensico Dam Plaza. And it is imperative that the lives we lost due to 9/11 related illnesses are not forgotten, not ever. So the loss those families have suffered will never be filled, and we are here to stand with them. We are here to grieve with them, and we certainly are here to remember with them always. So if you know someone who was a 9/11 first responder, that means in Ground Zero, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., or Shanksville, Pennsylvania, worked or resided in Westchester County and passed away as a result of a 9/11 related illness, please contact the co-chair of the Westchester County 9/11 related illnesses memorial committee member, Matt McCauley. And that number is going to be on the screen, 914-343-5251. And his email address is up there as well, Matt McCauley, McCauley at thmllp.com. It is critically important. This group of individuals came together several years ago at the direction of County Executive Latimer and pulled together the memorial that we all see today. Last year, the Westchester County Memorial was one of the first governments to unveil a new 9/11 related illness memorial, and that memorial is designed to complement the stonework of the dam and the surround rising symbolism as an eternal watch. This memorial is a culmination of a promise this county government and this county executive, George Latimer, made to the family and loved ones, to these true Westchester heroes. And it's a reminder to put in your calendar now. This year's Westchester County 9/11 Memorial will be on 9/11, Sunday, 9/11 at 3 p.m. at the Rising at Kensico Dam in Valhalla. And I believe we're going to be fully in person. I don't know if we'll have a hybrid option for that, County Executive.
Thanks very much, Ken. As we wrap up our report today, let me report that there were no fatal violent incidents over the course of the last weekend. We had in 2 prior weekends incidents in Mount Vernon and in Yonkers that were involved and were violent and involved a death. The police have arrested suspects in one of those 2 incidents and are checking on all of them. We still have had a relatively quiet summer as we get to the halfway point, the beginning of August. We hope that will continue, that we'll have weekends as we just had the past weekend. We know that we're seeing incidents of crime, violent crime in other areas. We're appreciative of the fact that has not touched us in the same way that it has in other locations. And we certainly credit the community policing for that our county police and the municipal police have been very interactive with the community to try to do everything we can to anticipate and avoid that from happening in the first place. In fact, this coming Tuesday, tomorrow night, is the annual National Night Out celebration that local police departments are doing in the vast majority of our jurisdictions. There's 4 of them. Each of the precincts in Yonkers have them, in New Rochelle, White Plains, Greenburgh, Portchester, Sleepy Hollow, Yorktown. I'm missing a whole bunch of them, Peekskill. But and we would encourage you, whatever community you're in, check with your local police department and see if they're going to have one of these sort of block parties that they usually have in and around either a prominent park or in and around the headquarters for the police department, in which they celebrate the connection between police and community. It's been a very controversial issue now for the last few years, but I think we're seeing both the value of those who serve us as police officials, but also the reform that gets us to a more sensitive, more inclusive and involved police department. And we're seeing that in both the reduced crime numbers. Westchester County's crime numbers are down this year over where they were 4 or 5 years ago. And we think that it's to the credit of that local police effort that's happening. But criminality still happens. And on any given day, a person may determine to break the law either with a crime to property or a crime to person. So we cannot assume that because of jurisdiction or circumstance that we're immune to crime. We have to be alert to it. And we also have to be realistic in projecting what the impact of that is in our home turf. And in our area, we've had good results so far. Let's keep it up and continue to have a good year. I'm going to close out by just reminding you again the things that we have been trying to do to deal with the inflationary moment. It would be foolish not to acknowledge that the greatest concern on people's minds is their economic impacts. We knew that in the beginning of the year when we cut property taxes for the 3rd straight year. And the amount this year was more significant than it was in the 2 prior years. We hope that circumstances might allow us to do that again this year, but we won't know that until we see the numbers come through in our budgetary situation. What we have done, and I think it should be apparent to everybody now, beginning back on June 1st, we made our Beeline bus system free for all passengers. That effort continues through Labor Day, which is still over a month away from us now. So we've already had 2 months of free bus service. We have yet another month plus of that ahead. So for those of you that can use the Beeline bus system, you can travel it at no cost right now. We've also made, and Ken pointed this out when he was giving the recreation update, our pools and our weekday beach at Glen Island is free to all people who come in from Monday through Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It is free entry into our pools. We have 4 pools. Wilson Woods is free all the time because of the diminishment of the service there. But the other 3 pools are free Monday through Thursday, and the Glen Island Beach is free as well, Monday through Thursday, no fee. The weekends are a different story, very busy time. Come early if you're coming on the weekend. You get a lot of demand for all of our beaches and pools, and we do add Croton Point on the weekend. We have made 2 parking lots that are adjacent to Metro North stations, Metro North Station in White Plains, Metro North Station in North White Plains. County parking lot facilities are adjacent to them. We've made that free for the months of July and now August. If you pay a fee for the month to commute into the city, you can park in those 2 locations for free. One is by the county center, the other is off of, I think, Fisher Drive, off of the Bronx River Parkway, accesses the North White Plains location. Those are the only 2 that the county owns near a Metro North station, so those are the 2 that we can make free. We have suspended the costs of any civil service exams, and not just for county positions. You might sit for a civil service exam for a municipal position, and you can do that without charge. Normally, when you pay a fee, half of it goes to the county, half of it goes to the state. We have forego the county receiving half, and we are actually picking up the other half that would go to the state. So we're reimbursing the state so that we can provide it for free. People are job hunting in this time, in this day and age, and if they want to sit for an appropriate job, it could be anything, police, fire, secretarial job. If it's something done through the civil service, you can now do that at no cost at all. We've added $700,000 in additional money to Feeding Westchester to increase the amount of food available through our various food pantries around the county. We already had an allocation, I believe, of $2 million in the beginning of the year, so this almost adds 50% more to that number so that more families that need to get food security can go to their local their local pantries and receive additional food through that effort. And we're going to monitor how that goes throughout the course of the year, determine if additional money has to be allocated. And we've also, working with the Board of Legislators, action would be taken, it may have been taken today, in which we intend to lift the county sales tax on home heating fuels from December 1st. Not starting it now, because who's heating their home right now? They're perfectly heated right now. But from December 1st until February 28th, the state allows an opt-in to suspending home heating fuels, and that could be oil, gas, natural gas, electric, any source, as I've said before. It also covers coal, but I hope you're not using coal in your house. That would be a very dirty fuel to have. But whatever it is, you will save half, and roughly half, of the sales tax on it. And if you're paying $1,000 for an oil delivery, the tax on that is 80 some odd dollars, and you would save half of that because of this action over the course of a winter, the three core months of the winter. You could save $120, $130, depending on how much you're buying. So that is also another action. And then consider what we said earlier, which is that the community college has now determined to freeze tuition for the next semester or next year, and that also is part of this process. Just to summarize all of these things, we have no questions from the press. If there are members of the press that want to reach out to us, call Catherine Chaffee, our Director of Communications, at 995-2932. She'll be happy to connect you with our friends from the Emergency Services Department. We'll connect you to Supervisor Lisa Katz of Newcastle, or Judy Troilo, who is here with the Loft. Any of our guests today, myself, Ken, anybody in county government, you're welcome to call in. To summarize, it's a long report. We've covered a lot of different things. And I think perhaps that should be the comforting note, is that we've touched on a variety of different issues. We're not on a singular track. There are people who will say, I worry about my taxes, that bothers me. I really don't know what county government does, but I care about my taxes. Well, we've addressed that, not only because we cut property taxes already, but we're doing other things to try to make life more affordable. But it's not simply that. It's also recognizing the money that we invest in emergency services, the money we invest in public safety services through our county police, the money that we invest in our public health department, which we don't think about until a pandemic comes along, the money that we invest in our parks department, because during the summertime that is a source of repose and relief for our friends, and the departments we did not talk about today, our community mental health department, our planning department, that is a critical part of us doing the work that we do to help municipalities in a host of different areas, and the ability to achieve grant money to do the things we do. Our Department of Environmental Facilities, where we treat sewage every day and we move garbage around that are collected by the local governments. All of these things represent our responsibilities in county government. We do all of that trying to do it straightforwardly, try to give you as much of an accurate update as we can, to be as open and as accessible to you as we can. And we hope that that gives you some idea of where we are today. We will be back a week from today on August 8th to give you an update on where we are and all these different things. At that point, we'll have another guest from one of the other municipal governments, and we'll touch on some of these things. In 2 weeks' time, August 15th, it'll be the Ken Jenkins Show. You'll be going solo that day. I am going to take a week of vacation, and hopefully I don't have to get called back in for some duty, surprise duty, but you have to be prepared that Lisa Katz will tell you you have to stay by the phone. If you get that phone call, you're going right back to your hometown. But we'll be happy to continue the communication with you, and we welcome your input at 995-2900 as you see fit. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thanks for watching, and have a good, safe day.